everyone, welcome to another edition of Webbing the Surf, brought to you from Sayulita Cowork by Customer Bloom, who can grow your business faster. Today we have Brandon James. What's up, my man?
Hey Chase, good to meet you here today.
Brandon's from Nomad Pad, which we just kind of bumped into each other online, and then I feel like the next week I turned around and you were here.
That's how it works, right?
So tell us, what is Nomad Pad?
So it's a housing startup. It's basically, imagine if Airbnb was catered to digital nomads. So it's month-to-month housing, living communally in apartments and houses, starting in Austin, Texas. So yeah, it's been going good. I've been growing it, and
For how long have you been doing it?
started with the idea about a year ago and wasn't profitable until this October, and now this is my second workcation that I've taken while building it. So everything's running in Austin smoothly, hopefully.
That's the goal, right?
Here I am in paradise.
So my first question when I was thinking about Nomad Pad is, I think the obvious question is, so why Nomad Pad versus Airbnb?
Sure. So Airbnb is basically short-term hotel housing. The monthly inventory that's on there is either people trying to fill up rooms where you're kind of either living, like I've lived on an Airbnb room with a family with 2 kids. It's kind of awkward.
Every time I do Airbnb, I only do the full house.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And I look for ones that like are not the house that people normally live in, and then just move out while you're there.
Right.
That weirds me out.
Yeah, so basically, like, if you're gonna get a 1-bedroom on Airbnb month to month, it's usually gonna be pretty expensive.
Right.
Yeah, so it's basically about finding a way to create a affordable, not so much affordable, but like the right price for a monthly apartment, and then the added benefit of living with someone who's kind of shared interests, someone who's either digital nomad, entrepreneur, and just basically anyone who's like a millennial and someone you want to meet and hang out with, you know?
It's pretty cool. So it's kind of like an incubator environment a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. We have a little community growing in Austin where we go out and, like, you know, hit up co-working spaces together, events, and it's part networking, it's part actually like solving the housing problem. But for me, it's more about the community.
Which is the problem that we have here in Sayulita, as we were talking about before we started. I really think that you should make this a destination.
I would love to, yeah.
The first thing that people ask me is, can you help me find a place to stay? And
sure.
Here, it's like impossible.
Yeah, exactly. Because everyone knows the short-term rental game here is probably like, it's everything. There's villas, there's the...
they know, like, why would I rent it to you for a week for this cost when I can rent it for the month?
Right.
Or I could rent it weekly at, like, 10 times the cost.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It's mostly vacationers down here. People like us who would want to come to this place for 1 to 3 months are few and far between, so it's about really targeting that market and, servicing that need, which is growing, so that's the fun part.
So... before you got this going, what were you doing?
So most recently I was working at a sneaker startup. So that was actually my first chance to work remote. I was working in Chicago.
Were you like the dude in Elizabethtown who made a shoe with like fins on the side or something?
Actually, I'm wearing them. They're pretty dirty right now.
Oh, those are the shoes you made?
No, so this is the blank version of it. They're artist designed footwear.
Okay.
So this is the ones that we do at events where artists could design like their own custom pairs. But basically it was like crowdsourced designs where anyone can submit online, and then we print the coolest designs every season. So it's cool, and then money goes back to the artists. I was basically a traveling shoe salesman, which is ridiculous. Like, of all the random jobs I've had, like I've been a barber, I've been a bartender, copywriter. I've done lots of random stuff, starting in finance, and I left that like about 6 years ago to become a traveler full time. But yeah, that job let me travel around the US to places like Minneapolis and like exciting spots, but also Austin, Texas, which ended up being my like biggest account for down there. So winter was coming around, and I was kind of deciding whether I was going to stick around or quit, like I usually do about 6 months into any job I have. And basically was like, hey guys, I'll stick around as long as you let me work remote from Austin. And did that. And actually I came to Sayulita for a week without them knowing and did a remote work. Yeah, hope they don't see this, but
where at Choco Banana?
No, we had an Airbnb, so my friends and I kind of like all were just working from the place. I wasn't really working. I was more so just like checking emails and making sure stuff didn't blow up. But,
Nice.
Yeah.
So in the past 6 years, you've gotten around not just the U.S., right? Where else? Have you been?
So I left finance in 2010 and did like a big 1.5-year trip. So I saved up 20 G's, flew to Israel, did a big bike expedition. So my first kind of like, midlife crisis, quarter-life crisis. I biked from Berlin to Mumbai, India.
Wow, no way.
All on a bicycle. Yeah, camping.
By yourself? Or
Yeah, totally
Holy
solo.
shit, really?
Yeah, I was definitely finance. I think a screw went loose after 2 years in the office.
Dude, that sounds insane.
Yeah, it was cool. There was a blog called Crazy Guy on a Bike, which was like a forum of all these people doing like 5-year trips, So sitting in my cubicle, just like dreaming and thinking that this was possible. And a few years later, I was on the bike, actually like making waves.
Graham and I used to live together, and we housed a dude who was coming through on a bike from Alaska or somewhere, all the way. Where was he going? Like
all the way to Argentina.
Southern Chile, Tierra del Fuego. That's that's like
Pan American Highway, I think.
Yeah, the Pan American Highway. Yeah. So there's like 2 big tracks, and that's one of them. I was doing like the London to Tokyo route, and then just did an abbreviated version.
That
still took a 1.5 years. But
that's so awesome.
Yeah. So from that, I moved back to New York, had a bunch of jobs, and then eventually moved to Southeast Asia. So I was just traveling originally, but I got a job at this company called Mind Valley, which is a marketing company, and I'd been blogging, so I kind of got some writing chops and became their blogger / copywriter, and was like living in Southeast Asia at this cool Google style office. Again, working for someone, so not happy, and moved to Bangkok and freelanced, and then worked and lived in Bangkok for another 1.5 years. So
there are interesting like kind of nuances or shades to this whole thing. This whole liberating yourself geographically. It seems like that's what a lot of people want, which is kind of where I'm at in the fact that I'm not like a true nomad and that I'm not going all over the world frequently.
Constantly moving.
I've kind of rooted down in Mexico, and I have a family now, but we travel back to the U.S. frequently and stuff like that. So it seems like some people just want to be able to work remotely, but some are like, no, I need to be like my own boss and work remotely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm jealous of some of these remote workers that have great paychecks and can just move around, But personally, I've done the free-spirited travel thing, and it's kind of like, after a few years, you get it out of your system, and I really like value having one place to call home and like building a community, which I've found in Austin. It's kind of this traveler vibe, close to Mexico, so I can come down here, and then also I'll do like 2-week trips every 3 months. So that's kind of my dose.
So one question that I like to ask everyone that comes on the show is, what are your essential tools? What do you use every day to get your job done and work wherever you want?
Yeah, so digitally, to run the business, I use a lot of like pretty easy services to run the business. It's pretty low profile tech-wise. So I use Typeform to collect information, Stripe, obviously, to collect payments, PayPal, just paid some maids sitting in a cafe downstairs. Trello, depending on if I'm working with a team or not, but I've definitely worked pretty well with remote teams using Trello. And then just like any type of communication tool like Facebook's Slack is really helpful. I think we might have met through Nomad List. I'm thinking that's where I found you, but probably Skyped you after that. But.
Yeah, no, Nomad List is pretty insane.
Yeah.
And we're like we were talking about, we're working on a second space, hopefully opening next month in Vallarta.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to get really deep into Nomad List.
Oh yeah. And that's great also for marketing, because you just can find your people there. So and it's great for validation. I posted a forum on Nomad List and got so many great responses about Nomad Pad that it was kind of a no-brainer.
Nice. Have you been seeing business flow through from there specifically?
Since then, I've found that local traffic sources actually work better, even like Craigslist I've been using. Yeah? So yeah, it's basically like, in terms of people coming into Austin, not so much, but it definitely was great for validating the idea. It was basically like, oh yeah, that would be great. I'd love to work with, or live and work with like-minded people. The first kind of like customer, I guess I didn't actually book him in, but first interest was the guy who founded Parse, which is a back-end software company.
Was that the one that just shut down?
They sold to Facebook, so I think they might have integrated into Facebook. But like big time Silicon Valley CEO,
Yeah.
and he was ready to live in a house with 3 other random people. So like that was like kind of where the
That's-
co-living thing kind of made sense at that point.
It's so interesting the way this whole thing is going. And,
Yeah.
and it's so exciting for me to be sitting in kind of the epicenter where people are flowing through.
Yeah, absolutely.
On
Yeah,
their
it's-
journeys.
We'll see how Sayulita builds up as like going from just a backpacker hub to like an actual tech hub. Like I can see it happening.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We had interest from some group called Hacker Hands that wanted to come through. Of course,
Sweet.
we couldn't figure out the accommodations and stuff, but
Yeah.
it's definitely becoming on the radar at least.
Yeah, definitely. It's on my radar, so hopefully.
Awesome. Well, I don't want to keep you too long.
Awesome, yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Great to meet you, Chase. Yeah.
Everyone
Thanks for having
watching,
me.
if you're watching on YouTube, please give us a subscribe to follow along, and remember to work the web so you can enjoy the surf, whatever your surf may be. See you next time.